Have you ever wondered, when is the best time to bring up your herpes status? When do I disclose? How do I do it? How does the conversation go? I want to make sure that I get acceptance from this partner, that I'm not rejected and I'm not seen differently by them. And if you're watching this video, whether you've been diagnosed for 6 months or 6 years, if you're still asking yourself, when is the best time to disclose, you're always going to be asking yourself that. See, because after coaching hundreds of clients and after going through my own diagnosis journey, I realized that it was never about timing or scripting or the right environment. It was about the person that you are at the time of disclosure. And it may seem like you are stuck in this place where you don't have the answers, or no matter what you do, you keep repeating the same struggles when it comes to disclosure. So in this video, I want to explain exactly why it is that you're still stuck where you are, sort of the counterintuitive approach to how do you actually go about making a disclosure go badly or successful at a time, and all the tips that I want to share when it comes to how do you actually disclose your herpes status. Now, the first thing I want to say is that when it comes to disclosure, the overarching framing of your disclosure is a mutual conversation about sexual health. Not a vulnerable confession, not some big reveal, and not some pity party. And the best way to figure out where you are in terms of your diagnosis progress and in terms of your disclosure progress is thinking about how do you make a disclosure go terribly wrong. So you get out your checklist and you write down, and this is not meant to be like tongue-in-cheek, I can't even speak English, tongue-in-cheek or funny or like condescending. No, but you write down like, okay, so I have to be completely uneducated. So lacking any information to answer my partner's questions about transmission and risks. Okay, so that's the first thing to mess it up. The second one would be like, I need to sell myself short. I need to never believe in myself, almost push my partner away before they have a chance to reject me. Because if I'm in control, it feels better than if they reject me and they're in control. I also want to make sure that my herpes status is like the most important part and almost like my identity above and beyond every other great quality I still might have or you still might have. And then when you want to go into bringing it up, you probably want to overthink it for weeks, for months. You want to build it up to be a huge thing, visualize in your head all the ways it's going to go wrong and how difficult it's going to be and how much of a tough conversation it is. And sometimes when I see people who write down, like, how do you have this tough conversation? How do you have this difficult, like, interaction? And the way that you're even thinking about it is going to bring difficulties, because if you tell yourself it's a tough conversation, it is. And yeah, it's all like whatever you tell yourself to be true is true regardless of how you feel about it. So you don't really want to make it into a mutual conversation. You'd want to make it into like, all right, sit down. I hope you don't treat me differently. Excuse me, it's a little bit tough. Let me have some bubble tea first. Oh, this looks like herpes. I was going to make that joke already. If you're not laughing, you're crying, okay? Lighten up. But you go into this I can't even speak. You go into the disclosure. You go into the disclosure. Basically making it into like the biggest deal ever, into this vulnerable confession, regardless of your partner's perception, idea, opinion of herpes. If you blow it up as if it's the end of the world because you still believe it is, they're going to feel that way regardless of their insight on herpes. So we have this clear image now of like not being educated, not believing in yourself that you're worthwhile of love, and framing it as a confession. That's all the ways that disclosures will go badly. Now, if you look at that and you say like, that's literally how I feel. That's literally all the things that are the characteristics of my disclosures, or when I think about disclosure, that's how I think. And sometimes it does take some looking at that situation and analyzing it and like taking a step back and asking yourself like, well, how would a disclosure go wrong? And am I literally doing that? So the actual point of this video here is to say that the reason why a lot of people ask me, hey, when's the best time to disclose? How do you bring it up? It's because they're still in that current state where they're uneducated or lacking all the knowledge to feel comfortable, still attached to the herpes stigma, unworthy of love, and not believing in themselves enough to have the confidence to realize that they can go out there and date whoever they want to date, or have multiple opportunities and an abundance of people to talk to. And then framing disclosure as a confession and not a mutual conversation about sexual health that should be done between two adults regardless of their status. So when you think about that perspective, then once you start to align yourself, no one is hopeless and no one is helpless, with that version of yourself who is educated, who isn't in denial enough still to never do research, who is still attaching the sticker or the label of dirty, promiscuous, slept around, made a mistake, this is a punishment, I deserve this, I'm not worthy of love. When you still have that story that you tell yourself about your diagnosis and about the stigma, you can only have that reinforced by someone who's ignorant, because you believe it yourself. You're going to feel judged, you're going to feel ashamed, you're going to feel like this dark cloud is forever on you. And when you don't realize that you have all of these amazing things you still have to offer, and you're still a great person, and you're worthy of love, and some person out there is going to be like, I want to be with you, but you got to want to be with yourself. Then, with the statistics and all the facts about herpes and the confidence and the feeling like an equal, you then go into your mutual conversation about sexual health with your partner. At the point in time, this is the important part, at the point in time when it makes sense to do that. Now, I'm going to say this. You don't get to date every single person, and I don't get to date every single person. You know, you're going to have to get to a point where you have mastered your confidence, and you've mastered your knowledge base, and you've mastered the framing that disclosure is a normal thing. But you go tell someone and they're like, yeah, you got a lot to offer and you seem confident and I understand the risks, but I just can't do it. And you got to be like, okay, totally understand. I get it. Not a problem. Thanks for sharing. And you move on to the next person. Instead of, oh no, I can't even no, I can't even. I mean, I got rejected. There's a video. The card's here or the card's here, wherever the card is. I got rejected and felt sad for 6 hours. And this was in August or July or something. And then I moved on. So I can't even, in the framing that I have right now, in the version of myself right now, feel like I'm so heartbroken. Because I know deep down that the right many people out there who are compatible with me and who see the value in me, they're not going to bat an eye. And it's like, I can visualize partners, and you may think well, what if they like everything about me except herpes? Don't worry. Visualize partners out there who like every single thing about you, and they like the fact that you have herpes. Not like it, but they're okay with that because they understand that it's an inevitable risk. So this is sort of a long-winded rant about when is the best time to disclose. And it's sort of a learning lesson, because I had a coaching client that I just signed on a couple days ago who, on our onboarding call together, said to me, yeah, maybe next week we can kind of go into how to disclose. Now, this is a girl that has had herpes for, a year or so and still was deeply ingrained in the stigma and ashamed and sort of hid her diagnosis from the world and stuff. And I'm thinking there's no way you're going to get to disclosure on week number 1. And it just goes to show you that there is a process, there is a healing, there is a journey you must go through that I went through. If you do want some help with that journey, I'll leave a link in the description box to hop on a call with me, or my simple 3-step process video. They're both there. Check them out when you have some time. You need to go through a process where you get yourself educated and you get your confidence back and you frame your disclosure as this should be a normal thing. And when you do that, then there isn't a specific timing. Okay, on the first date I say it. On the second date I say it. No, it's you and your partner are going to discuss sexual health together, and you're detached from the outcome that you're automatically going to date them. Because if you don't, that's okay. And if you do, that's okay. And the reason why I say this is because the most amount of success when it comes to having a disclosure conversation is only going to come from you being that person. So you go back and you look at all the ways that you mess up your disclosure or that the disclosure would go badly. And you think like, yeah, if I really am still that person who's stuck, my partner is like never going to have a good conversation about herpes with me. And even still, I'll put this caveat. If you go out there and you're sad and you're afraid and you're ashamed and you're uneducated and you disclose and the guy or girl's like, that's totally fine, don't worry about it. They accept you still, they're like, I want to date you. You're actually going to self-sabotage. You're going to be like, no, what do you mean? I said I have herpes. Run away from me. Did you? No, herpes. It's the worst thing ever. And they're like, it's not a big deal. And you actually will self-sabotage and push your partner away even if they accept you. So not only is it about getting to a place where you can make your partner feel comfortable, but it's getting to a place where you're even comfortable with yourself. Because it is really tough to live in shame and live in fear and live in uncertainty and live in denial, even if you have a partner. So think about how difficult it would be if you still don't even have a partner. So the long story short, to summarize the video, there is no perfect time. And the tagline of this video is that when you are the person where disclosure is effortless, every time you disclose is the right time. So you frame it as a mutual conversation about sexual health. Both of you should be discussing this together, regardless of your herpes status. You're knowledgeable and you're educated, and you can ask them questions about them, and they can ask questions about you, and you can inform each other based on your knowledge. You're confident, you believe in yourself, you have things to offer. If they reject you, you feel like they're missing out on you because you're still a catch. And when it's framed less so from a vulnerable confession to a mutual conversation about sexual health, whether it's over text before you date, whether it's on the first date, whether it's on the second date, whether it's whenever it happens, because that conversation should happen in general, then you're free. And then you get to the point where you're like, wait, my diagnosis doesn't even matter. It can't hold me back. And I can't date everybody. But that's okay, and I understand. And then you never feel like there's this weight or this pressure or this thing. And eventually, if enough people get to this point, herpes disclosure might become so normalized that we're so sick and tired of hearing it. And then nobody discloses. Then it's like this weird vicious spiral. But with that being said, if you do want some help with your diagnosis, getting rid of shame, perfecting disclosure, I am extremely passionate about helping people because no one is hopeless and no one is helpless. And if you're watching this video and you don't know where to go, you don't know where to start, you need some help, I can help you. This is not a sales pitch, but like genuinely, clients changing in front of my eyes is the most purposeful thing I've ever done in my entire life. I'll leave a link down below to check it out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.